So in this verse, if we have to offer something to the Lord, broadly speaking, any sacrifice which we perform, it can be accepted as through fire. We have different kinds of homas, yagyas. So the Lord accepts, His mouth is that fire of the sacrificial arena. And the second method is through the mouth of a brāhmana. And in this verse, the Lord is saying, of the two, I enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrificers in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths. I do not relish with the same as I do the delicacies offering with ghee, which are offered to the mouth of a brāhmanas. That's why in India we have tradition of, feeding the brāhmanas, Vaishnava Bhoj. Everywhere we have, whenever there is some ceremony, people want to feed the devotees, brāhmanas. Why the Lord is saying that for Him the Vaishnavas or the brāhmanas are more dear? Out of 84 lakh species of life, we know 4 lakhs are human beings. In human beings also, they are uncivilized, and then we have a small portion of it civilized. In civilized also, civilized human beings, there is a large category who do not follow the Vedic injunctions, the Vedas. A small portion of it, that's why Prabhupada many times says Vedic culture, Varnashrama. If this Varnashrama is not followed, then it's animal life. So civilized, large portion of the civilized is the followers do not follow the Vedic injunctions, and a small portion follow the Vedic injunctions, the Vedas. Now among those who follow the Vedas, a large portion are the ones who are following the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. They are religious, they are pious, they go to the temple, but Karma Kanda. They will do some upvas, some vratas. It's purely for materialistic end. So Karma Kanda. Among the Karma Kandas, some portion, some people who elevate, go to the next level, the Jnana Kandas, they start inquiring, they become inquisitive. That verse is Koti Karmi Madhye. What is that verse? First Jnanis, then among the Jnanis, then there are these things. So then there are Jnanis. And among the Jnanis, then there is Bhakta, who has devoted his life for Krishna. That is what Krishna is saying. Those who have dedicated to me the result of their activities. As we all know, there's a difference between even Brahmana and a Vaishnava. Not every Brahmana is a Vaishnava, but every Vaishnava is a Brahmana. And what makes a person Brahmana? It is not Brahman Janati iti Brahman. One who understands Brahman is one thing, but who has dedicated his life to please the Supreme Lord. What is Krishna? Dedicated to me the result of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasāda. So, Vaishnava is very rare. And hence, to please a Vaishnava, Prabhupada is in the end of the purport, it's very important. After summarizing, after telling everything, he is saying, Therefore it is recommended, after discussing everything, he is saying, therefore it is recommended that Harer Nama, chanting the holy name of the Lord and pleasing the Vaishnavas are the only means to elevate oneself in spiritual life. So here we are getting two important instructions. We have come here to elevate in spiritual life. It's very clear. And two important things is Harer Nama, chanting of the holy names, which we are doing, is part of our daily schedule, the sadhana. And second one is to please the Vaishnava. This is a principle. Pleasing the Vaishnava is a principle. And application of that principle is by feeding the brāhmaṇas. So last class, we were mentioning that just like in Vrindavan Dham, when we do any spiritual activity, the results are multifold. There's a multiplication factor. And we also discussed that how if we commit offenses, then the reactions also have a multiplier effect. That's why Prabhupada used to say, if a neophyte or somebody who goes to Vrindavan stays for 3-4 days, so that he does not commit offenses. Familiarity breeds contempt. Because offenses can be very dangerous. So then last class we discussed that how we are all very fortunate. We are living in association of devotees. Vaishnava who is so rare. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidititi yatatam apisa kaschin mam veti tatvata. Out of millions and millions of people, one can be a Vaishnava who knows about Krishna. And we are living in the society of Vaishnavas. Everywhere around us, Vaishnavas. Morning to night, whomsoever we are interacting with, predominantly it's Vaishnavas. It's very rare. We have immense opportunity to please Vaishnavas, which Prabhupada is saying is the only means to elevate in spiritual life. Harer Nama, chanting of the holy name, which is a Yuga Dharma, and pleasing the Vaishnavas. And we have immense opportunity. We are living amidst Vaishnavas. Every dealing of ours, we can have an opportunity to please a Vaishnava. Every dealing, every step. Some Vaishnava is sick, you go and help him. He gets pleased. You have earned spiritual credits. But the danger is, you also can displease a Vaishnava. Just like in Vrindavan, you can do spiritual activities, get multiplied benefits. You can also commit offenses. So danger is you can also displease a Vaishnava, which is also called Vaishnava Aparadha, and which many times, many places in our scriptures are mentioned as mad elephant offense. A garden can be one can nurture a garden over 10 years, 12 years, very painstakingly grown, all the trees, plants. And a mad elephant enters, in no time he can ransack, complete garden can be devastated. So, how to very steadily elevate or progress in spiritual life? So we have to please Vaishnavas, we have to chant the holy names and avoid Vaishnava Aparadha. Now, briefly I touched this point in the last class. In every sphere of life, we being a conditioned soul, there is something called as knowing, doing gap. We know this is wrong, but many times we end up doing it. We know I should get up in the morning, but when the alarm rings, what I do is different from what I know or what I have decided to do. This gap is called knowing, doing gap, because we have our mind, we have habitual traits, habit loops. We know that we have to please the Vaishnavas, but there is a knowing, doing gap. We know that we should not offend the Vaishnavas, but there is a knowing, doing gap. We know that we should chant attentively, but there is a knowing, doing gap. We know that we should not have lusty desires, but there is a knowing, doing gap. We know that we should not overeat, but there is a knowing, doing gap. You see how there's a gap in every aspect of life. And to bridge the gap is what spiritual advancement is. Beyond a point, we cannot, it will take time. Suddenly you cannot decide from today onwards I will not get angry. Even if you decide, you will get angry. Because there's so many habits are there, our programming, our vasanas, how our upbringing has been. So many factors are in play. Even genetics also play a role. The family in which we have taken birth plays a role. They say when first 7 years of a child are very crucial because the conscious mind has not developed. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious. Subconscious mind is 95%, and most of the decisions we take is because of our subconscious mind. And whatever a child is observing, is seeing, is going and directly going into his subconscious mind. Programs are getting formed. That's why when a person gets addicted to something, could be smoking, could be drinking or anything, there's a knowing, doing gap. He knows I should not be smoking. He tries again and again. He makes a resolve. He struggles. But he's not, because programs have got formed. Habit loops have got formed. It's called wiring. Crude example, you see down in the lawn, garden, when you walk, suppose you are doing your chanting, every day you're walking. In 5 days you will see there is that grass where you're walking, it will become little less dense. You can see the path. Likewise, in our brain, there are neurons at a yantra level. So these neurons gets wired. Neural pathways they call it, neural pathways. So that for every time we have to take action, we don't have to think. Automatic response. This is how the Lord has designed this yantra. So neural pathways gets formed. Now suppose somebody goes to walk in the garden, he will see there is a path, so he will also walk in the path. If you go to a jungle, you will see a path. So likewise, when we decide I should not do it, we are fighting with lot of neural pathways, habit loops, our tendencies, our upbringing, our programming which has happened from childhood. So all those things come in play. So that's why in spiritual life it is said, one of the qualities, patience. Utsaha, Dhairya, Nischaya. Why patience is? Prabhupada says when somebody gets married, he cannot say, I want a child tomorrow. You cannot say from tomorrow onwards, I will not be angry. For tomorrow onwards, I will not cultivate lusty desires. I will not have lusty desires. From tomorrow onwards, I will not displease any Vaishnava. You cannot. You can desire, but there is a knowing-doing gap. So, what to do? In one sense, we are helpless. We are programmed in one way and we want to act in a different way. What do we do in the meantime? That's where humility comes in play. That's where forgiveness comes into play. Apologies come into play. Begging forgiveness come into play. In the heat of a moment, we may say something which later on we may realize that I did a mistake. In the heat of moment, what you say may not be fully in your control. Again, because of habit loops. But what you do after you have realized that you have made a mistake is very important. Krishna and Prabhupada also understands that they also know we are conditioned soul. Conditioning has happened. Conditioning. So they are very merciful. If for small mistakes we do, if we are punished, or some all Vaishnavas we offend, if we are punished, then nobody will be sitting here. We will not be sitting here. They are very merciful. But we have to do our part. What is that? We should be very, very humble to, suppose somebody is pointing out a mistake, or we realize that we have made a mistake, then one of the very important thing which we have to practice is beg forgiveness. Even Durvasa Muni, when he offended Ambarish Maharaj, he went everywhere looking for relief from that Sudarshan Chakra. But he said, no, you go back to Ambarish Maharaj, only he can forgive. And Vaishnavas by nature are very forgiving. So I'll read out few quotes of Srila Prabhupada on this aspect. We should learn to forget and forgive minor incidents, because whenever there are two men in a place, here we are not having two men. We have a community of devotees. Whenever there are two men in a place, there is always some misunderstanding. Such misunderstanding happens even between husband and wife, what to speak of others. But we have to adjust things on the basis of Krishna consciousness. If we are sincere to Krishna and spiritual master combinedly, then everything will be favorably settled. So, on one side we have to please Vaishnavas, other side there will be misunderstandings. There will be some conflicts. We also cannot decide from today onwards we'll all live in harmony, we'll not have any misunderstanding, we'll not have any fight, we'll all be like God brothers, nicely cooperate with each other. That's good, but knowing doing gap. We should not be intolerant. Even somebody has done some wrong unto me. Shama Rup Tapasvinam. Tapasvi, those who are advancing in Krishna consciousness, undergoing tapasya, austerity, their first qualification is to forgive the offender. This is the qualification. Tapasvina, Shama Rupi Tapasvinaha. Somebody has offended, somebody has spoken harsh words. We don't carry in our heart and have ill feelings. Stop talking, have a relationship which is, Cold War. That should not happen. Forgive. One important thing which we can practice, everyone helpless to different degree. Everyone, if you step into what is his upbringing? If you see from his perspective what he is going through in life, maybe he has shouted, maybe he has used ill word, who knows, he is going through a tough phase in his life, lot of challenges. What has been his upbringing? Maybe if I were in his shoes, maybe if I have had the same, I would have behaved even worse than him. So a test for us is, when we are living in a community of devotees, with how many people I have stopped talking. Sometimes what happens is, when somebody has hurt you, so one reaction is that, okay, I don't like him. I don't talk to him. Why I should talk? I'll mind my business. So that's not good. We can go talk to him. If my mistake is there, beg forgiveness. Sometimes ego doesn't allow. Sometimes ego says, why I should ask for him? It is his mistake. He should ask forgiveness. Vaishnava means he is willing to bend. He is willing to, wherever he thinks that, even just like Chitraketu, he didn't do any mistake. He didn't do any mistake. Parvati thought that he was laughing at her. He said, I am sorry. He was very clear. He knows in his mind what is going on. Parvati thought that he is laughing. She cursed him also. Accepted. Yes. Shama means forgiveness. Suppose I have done some wrong. Especially those who are following penance and austerity, yogic principle or devotional life, they should learn to excuse. In our dealings, there are so many faulty dealings between ourselves. So if we take everything seriously, then it is very difficult to live. If small things, some unpleasant experience, somebody did something to me, somebody did not serve properly, somebody spoke some words, we take it seriously, take it to our heart, and then we stop talking, then we breed hatred, ill feelings, anger. That's not wrong. Then Prabhupada is saying that it's very difficult to live. And a time comes when a person can even think, this is not the right place. A sadhu, a devotee, is never angry. Actually, the real feature of devotees who undergo tapasya, austerity, is forgiveness. Although Vaishnava has sufficient power in tapasya, he does not become angry when put into difficulty. One of the tests for a Vaishnava is, suppose somebody has spoken something which hurts me, we should tolerate. He has spoken ill about Prabhupada, ill about other Vaishnavas, ill about Krishna, then we should not tolerate. And we have examples for both in Shastras. The principle is the same. If it is to me, my ego should not provoke me to act. I should tolerate. If it is to Vaishnavas, yes, we can get angry. The duty of a Brāhmana is to culture the quality of forgiveness, which is illuminating like the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is pleased with those who are forgiving. So ultimately, it's what we have to please Krishna. How Krishna is pleased? Through chanting of his holy names and through Vaishnavas, pleasing Vaishnavas. And that's how we advance in spiritual life. So advancing in spiritual life means what? Pleasing Krishna and coming closer to Krishna. Shama means tolerant. You should not be disturbed. Suppose you are in this Krishna conscious society. Now you cannot expect that all members of the society will be first class men. How can we expect? See, many times Prabhupada also compares our institution to a hospital. This is a spiritual hospital. So in hospital, we'll have all kinds of patients. Somebody is a TB patient, somebody has simple fever, somebody has cancer, somebody has terminal disease, somebody has, very continuously coughing. Somebody is having wheezing problem. All kinds of patients are there. So you cannot expect that all the members of the society will be first-class men. How can we expect? Another thing we should see, when we see somebody is misbehaving, it also depends on how we interpret, how we take it. A lot of mistakes we do is how we interpret what is happening to us. That's why there is a principle which says 10% is what happens to you, 90% is how you behave to what happens to you. So if 100% is what our disturbance is, we should be very clear, 10% is what has happened to me, 90% is because of my response to what has happened to me. Be very clear about it. Otherwise, we give 100% blame to the 10%. And if we give 100% blame to the 10%, we'll always feel that, main bechara kismat ka mara. You feel that you are a puppet, you are not in control, you are helpless. Others are, if they behave nicely, you feel good. If they behave badly, then you are bad. Proactive means you culture the right environment. That is the meaning of responsibility. Yes, something did bad, that contributes 10%. 90% is in your hands. We don't look into that. We blame that 10% and we magnify it and make it 100%. If we actually take it as 10%, then we can work on ourselves by tolerance, by forgiveness. Now you cannot expect that all members of the society will be first-class men. So I was telling, we have a great opportunity to practice the principles what we are learning in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita. How can we learn swimming without getting into a pool? If suppose a book is there, thick book, and the book title is How to Swim Nicely. You cannot learn swimming without going into water, by reading that book, by mugging up all the thing. So one of the very great facility what we get here is when we are living in community of devotees, we can practice the principles. Why the cricketers go to the field and they put the nets and because they want to practice. Somebody is bowling, they want to practice. So we have a great opportunity to practice the principles. Suppose somebody told, you have an opportunity to practice what Krishna is saying in the Gita. And what Krishna is saying, what to practice, we are learning in the Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. How to deal, how to act, how not to act. We have pastimes from the lives of great devotees. We are collecting members of the society from all classes of men. So there may be a man in goodness, a man in passion, and a man in ignorance. But if you think, oh, this man is not good, that man is not good, no, you should be tolerant. You haven't got any connection with this man or that man. You are connected with philosophy. This is where we can even commit Vaishnava aparadh. We start criticizing, we start blaming, blaspheming. You should be tolerant. You haven't got any connection with this man or that man. You're connected with philosophy, with the process of life. Just see the example. Suppose you're on a ship. You do not find all the men of your choice. There may be different kind of men. But what is that to you? You have to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Patiently cross. Just sit down tightly on the ship and take advantage of the opportunity. How foolish will be somebody will jump from the from the ship. That is your business. This is called Shama. Shama means excuse and tolerate. Tolerate and then excuse. So, we are very fortunate. We are in community of devotees. Every step we have opportunity to please Vaishnavas. Now we'll have prasadam time. You can go and serve somebody. Somebody wants something, you go and give. Prabhu, can I serve you? We also can offend a Vaishnava. Every step we can offend. And net is what? Just like in a bank balance. How much credit, how much debit. Finally you have a balance. So what is spiritual advancement? Whether the credits are positive or negative. Whether you are pleased Vaishnava or displeased Vaishnavas. Even chanting of the holy name, which is one way to please the Krishna, one of the first offense is to blaspheme the Vaishnavas who have dedicated their lives for dedication. See again, even in chanting, holy name is very merciful, but holy name, you are offending the holy name if you are blaspheming the Vaishnavas. So we'll stop here. Anyone has any question? Anything like to ask? Yeah. Give them. Anyway, you can speak, Prabhu, till the mic is.
Sometimes either we become envious of some Vaishnava or we realize that some Vaishnava is feeling some kind of envy with us. So in that situation, both way how we can handle it.
See, as I mentioned earlier, we are feeling envious. We know that we should not be feeling envious, but we are feeling envious. Knowing doing gap. Okay? Knowing doing gap with passage of time, if we are advancing, will get bridged. It will take time. Okay? Suddenly, from today, you will say, I'll not feel lusty. You cannot decide. It will only be frustration. So, if you are feeling envious, or if you have done some mistake, or you have blasphemed, or you have done something, what you do after you've realized is important. And how you realize, there are two ways you can realize. One is through yourself, through some introspection. I shouldn't have done this. Many times there's an inner voice which comes. We realize, I shouldn't have done this. This is my mistake. Sometimes we are so gross, this inner voice also gets completely doused. We're not able to hear. A lot of people are doing they're eating beef, and that inner voice is not prompting to them there's something wrong. They have become so animalistic. The more and more we advance, the more, and just like here, Haridas Thakur, what he's saying, I'm a Mohammedan, why are you feeding me? So the more we advance, the more we'll be able to feel the feelings. I made a mistake. The more we are not properly situated, we may make even blunders, but still we'll say, no, it's not my mistake. I didn't do anything wrong. Somebody is pointing out, you did like this. No, Prabhu. No. He is wrong. All the pastimes, if you see, why this Parikshit Maharaj pastime is there? He is cursed. How did he deal? Chitraketu was cursed. How did he deal? The Pandavas were sent to exile. How did they deal? Ramachandra was sent to how did he deal? All this is not just to read and feel good about it. It's just to learn and then practice this in our daily lives. So then, your question is, if we feel envious, I know I should not be feeling, but I am feeling envious. I am feeling lusty. I know I shouldn't be doing, but I am feeling this thing. Then once we realize this thing is there, then beg forgiveness. Our ego will not permit. Even we can go to that Vaishnava, Prabhuji, I am sorry. If the other devotee is feeling envious of you and we came.
Sometimes people outside world, they feel envious of our institution. So how to handle that?
So that's why you say excuse and tolerate. If we are feeling envious, we beg forgiveness, we excuse, other has made a mistake. Otherwise, tolerate. We cannot control everyone, right? You be humble. You beg forgiveness from me. We cannot demand. Tolerate. If it is to institution, yes, some corrective step needs to be taken. We discuss and take that corrective step. It is to me, somebody blasphemes, tolerate.
Prabhupada concludes that for the spiritual upliftment, we have to chant the holy name of the Lord and please the Vaishnavas. What is the principle behind we can see the pleasing the Vaishnavas? Because for a Vaishnava is also a conditioned soul. So does it mean that what his body, mind systems demands, we facilitate and that is please the Vaishnavas? For example, you comes every day to wake me early in the morning, that not please me. That displease me.
It's not pleasing you.
Yeah.
That's why again and again I am coming. So very good question. Should we please a conditioned mind of a Vaishnava who doesn't want to be a Vaishnava, or should we please? So very good question. I think this requires this thing. Many times we think pleasing the Vaishnava wants some sense gratification, you give him that. And that we think pleasing a Vaishnava, so no, that's not. So it's very good question. So it's not, because the Vaishnava may not be properly situated, possible. And then pleasing the Vaishnava means you are just helping in his sense gratification. Somebody wants to sleep and you please him. So that's not pleasing. Yeah, you're right. So it is more to... So that's why we have to act the spiritual platform, spiritual prayer. Arjuna was saying, how can I fight? How can I fight? How can I kill Bhishma? How can I get this thing? I have to please Bhishma. I have to please Dronacharya by not fighting. So spiritual life is also called Buddhi Yoga, because that's why we are hearing day after day. The finer nuances are there. Finer nuances are there which we have to learn. Pleasing Vaishnava is a general word, but there are so many finer nuances, finer details, we require intelligence, we require guidance, we require experience. So very good point. It is not pleasing Vaishnava on a spiritual platform. Some Vaishnava is saying to do something wrong, maybe because he is not properly situated, and then we become party to it, to please him. That's wrong.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. What if I don't realize that I have displeased someone?
Very good question. This question was asked in Hyderabad. There are 4 ways. If you see a matrix, when you displease someone, you have realized you have displeased and the other person has realized you have displeased. That is one possibility. Second possibility is you have done a mistake, you have realized you have done a mistake, other person has not realized, he has not got offended. Second possibility. Third possibility, you have not realized you have made a mistake, he has also not realized you have made a mistake. Bliss. Only Krishna has realized. And the fourth possibility is, you have not realized, he has realized you have done a mistake, right? Fourth possibility. Take one by one. You have realized you have made a mistake, he has realized you have made a mistake, he is offended. Go and beg forgiveness. Clear? Second thing is, you have made a mistake, you have not realized, he has realized and made a mistake. 2 possibilities in that also. he can come and tell you that you did a mistake, then you beg forgiveness. If he does not tell, it is dangerous. Why it is dangerous? Because he has got offended, you don't know, and you have not begged forgiveness. It's dangerous. Clear? Third, you have not realized, he has not realized, that's also dangerous because Vaishnava aparadha has happened. Who has realized this? Krishna has realized. Laws of nature has realized. Unknowing also, if you do, it will have a reaction. Somebody is eating beef, he does not know, ignorance is not an excuse. You'll get a reaction. And fourth is, you have realized, he has not realized, go and beg forgiveness. So that's why if we have got offended someone, a Vaishnava, it can be a service to him by going and telling Prabhu, you did a mistake. He may not ask forgiveness, that's a different thing. At least you have told him so that if he has to ask forgiveness, he can ask. Huh?
Many mistakes.
So we'll stop here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada.